Admiral Aeva Rane stood barefoot in her sky garden, pruning a bonsai tree that had outlived 7 empires. Morning sunlight filtered through the dome above, dappling the leaves with golden warmth. The air smelled of mint and solar orchids. Birds, not real, but close enough, sang with perfect algorithmic rhythm. Earth hadn't seen a real war in a millennium. That suited her fine. Until today. The alert chimed once. Quiet. Polite. Like a footman knocking at a royal door. Eva's smile faded. She placed the shears down, wiped her hands on her robe, and tapped the air. A translucent screen shimmered to life. Incoming signal. Origin, interstellar unknown. Status, hostile declaration. Location, Jupiter orbit, 30 ships detected. She blinked. Confirm authenticity, she said calmly. The AI voice that answered was rich, neutral, and bored. Confirmed. Signal is genuine. Language decrypted. Message on loop. Eva raised an eyebrow. Play it. The voice that boomed into the room was deep, guttural, and absolutely convinced of its own importance. I am Vaktar Kel, Supreme Warlord of the Zarkith Empire. We have observed your species. Your century of stillness reeks of weakness. Prepare for conquest. You have 10 solar spans to surrender your planet and its holdings. Resistance will be met with extinction. Glory to Zarkith. Silence returned to the garden. Eva exhaled through her nose, reached for her tea, and sipped. Then she said deadpan, Ah hell. Another one. Command Bridge Omega, buried 300 meters beneath the Sea of Tranquility, hadn't seen action in 986 years. Dust didn't exist here, but if it did, it would have sighed in relief when the lights flickered on. Eva stepped in, now clad in her Admiral blacks. Silver insignia. Sleeves rolled up. Hair pulled back. She looked more like a tired engineer than the single most dangerous human alive. Status report, she said as she strode to the central table. A cluster of AI avatars shimmered into view, accompanied by 3 human analysts, all of them under 30 and visibly thrilled. 30 capital-class Zarkith vessels, said Ensign Narek, practically vibrating. No comm buoys. No FTL damping. They just dropped out of slip space like it was a Tuesday. Eva raised an eyebrow. Weapons? High-energy plasma. Kinetic slugs. Some gravitic warheads, Narek continued. Their tech's about 700 years behind our minimum defense grid. Maybe 800. Intent? Conquest. Total. She turned to the AI node labeled Leviathan. Begin reactivation protocols. Peacekeeper Class 1 systems only. A heavy bass hum resonated through the floor. Confirmed, Leviathan said. Its voice was deep, regal, and slightly amused. Oh good. I was beginning to think we'd never murder anyone again. The Zarkith fleet loomed above Jupiter, casting jagged shadows across the gas giant storms. Their flagship, a serrated monolith named the Judgment Fong, broadcast its challenge system-wide. Across Earth, people paused their breakfast feeds to watch. Children asked if it was a news show. Elder citizens smiled faintly and whispered to no one in particular. They forgot. In low Mars orbit, a research station was the first to suffer. One of the Zarkith ships fired a single shot, ceremonial, maybe. A pulse of plasma struck the habitat, vaporizing half of it. No deaths. Everyone had evacuated the moment the signal arrived. Eva stood on the command platform of the Aegis Eternum, the only remaining Dreadnought-class vessel from the Third Expansion era. Sleek, angular, covered in reactive crystal armor that shimmered like mercury, the ship looked more myth than machine. She opened a direct channel to the Zarkith flagship. The image of Vaktar filled the screen, towering, reptilian, armored in ceremonial bronze plating. His 6 crimson eyes radiated contempt. You are the human leader? He asked, disdain dripping from each syllable. Eva nodded. Close enough. You just shot one of our outposts. Normally, we'd issue a warning. Today's different. He tilted his head. Your world has gone soft. Your people sing and plant flowers. We expected resistance, not amusement. Aeva leaned closer. You mistook quiet for fear. That was your first mistake. Vaktar sneered. You had peace for 1,000 years. We chose peace, Aeva replied. Don't make us choose otherwise. He bared his teeth in a snarl. Prepare to die. The screen cut. She turned to Leviathan. Let's show them what we forgot to forget. An hour later, 3 Zarkith cruisers blinked off sensors. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Erased. No debris. No radiation. Just gone. The Peacekeeper systems hadn't fired a single round. Across the fleet, Zarkith officers shouted, "Scan," panicked. They found no weapon signatures. No impact traces. Aboard the Judgment Fawn, Vaktar paced like a caged animal. What did they do? He growled. Back aboard the Aegis Eternum, Aeva received a second hail. She let it ring. Then answered. Have I got your attention now? She asked. Vaktar's eyes burned. What did you use? She gave a half-smile. We called it Oblivion Protocol. Designed it 600 years ago. Never used it until now. You didn't even give us a chance to fight. We didn't think you were here to talk, Aeva said. Was I wrong? He hesitated. The silence was louder than the threat had been. She leaned back. You came looking for prey. You found predators on a leash. The Zarkith pulled back from Jupiter orbit, but only slightly. Earth responded by rotating 3 more Peacekeeper vessels out of stasis. The message was clear. 1,000 years of peace had not dulled the blade. It had only sharpened it in silence. And now, something ancient stirred in humanity's marrow. Not bloodlust. Resolve. Aeva stood in the darkened command room, watching the stars. Status? She asked. Zarkith fleet holding, Mirek reported. They're regrouping. Maybe reconsidering. Aeva nodded. Good. Behind her, the bonsai she had pruned that morning rested in a sealed case. A symbol of peace, balance, and patience. But in the quiet, another symbol pulsed, a crimson sigil once feared across the galaxy. The old banner of Earth's war era. The Peacekeeper crest. As it reactivated, systems long dormant began to stir. Not out of vengeance. Out of memory. The Aegis Eternum drifted silently above Earth, a giant among phantoms. Its hull glistened with light from the sun, though it absorbed more than it reflected. Its systems, newly awoken, hummed with quiet menace. For the first time in centuries, Peacekeeper protocols were active beyond simulation. Admiral Aeva Rane stood in the command sphere, arms folded behind her back, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Zarkith fleet had paused just beyond Mars, their formation tense but holding. No further attacks. No retreat. They're thinking, Aeva murmured. Unusual for a species that opens negotiations with artillery, said Ensign Mirek from the side console. Perhaps they're not used to prey turning around. Perhaps they've never been prey. Aeva nodded. Until now. The Peacekeeper Council convened within the orbital prism, a rotating assembly platform lit by natural sunlight and AI-projected consensus graphs. Humanity's greatest minds, both biological and synthetic, joined through hollow nodes. Even the Venusian Dream Cluster sent a representative, more metaphor than person, speaking in harmonic tones that translated as wisdom. Eva's projection towered in the center. They've made no further moves, she said. But they're testing us. They fired first, and now they're waiting for a response. The Chancellor of Earth, a serene woman named Delane Kaur, tilted her head. Do we know why? They assume peace equals weakness. A cultural bias. They come from conflict-born hierarchy. The Dream Cluster murmured across frequencies, then rendered a unified reply. Shall we correct their assumption? Mild chuckles rippled through the human delegates. No vote was needed. Everyone knew the answer. Aeva offered one suggestion. Let's speak their language. But politely. The diplomatic envoy was a simple beam transmission, terse, cordial, and unambiguous. To Supreme Warlord Vaktar Kell. We acknowledge your presence. Earth is sovereign. Any further aggression will be met with decisive response. Our preference remains peace. But we are very, very good at war. No reply came. Instead, 6 hours later, 3 Zarkith cruisers burned hard toward Mars and opened fire on a civilian mining colony. Over 100 kinetic slugs hit nothing but shields. Automated countermeasures activated before the colonists even looked up from their lunch. Eva watched from orbit, face unreadable. "Return message," she said. 2 words. "Which words, Admiral?" asked Leviathan, arching a digital eyebrow. "Try, you sure?" The Aegis Eternum launched its first counterstrike, not a weapon, but a single drone. Small, fast, and unarmed in the conventional sense. As the Zarkith fleet tracked its approach, it split. Then again. Then again. Each duplicate carried a fragment of code. Within seconds, over 7,000 subdrones flooded their sensor arrays. False signatures. Phantom readings. Weapon lock disruptions. Their targeting AI collapsed under the flood. 3 cruisers drifted sideways, their engines glitching mid-burn. Another launched missiles blindly, striking its own escort. Eva sipped coffee, watching the chaos unfold. "How are we doing?" Mirek turned, grinning. "We haven't even touched their hulls." "Perfect. Keep it that way." In the Zarkith command chamber, Vaktar roared. Not out of pain, but humiliation. He slammed his clawed fist against the interface, which cracked but held. "They mock us," he growled. His second in command, a shorter but broader female named Raskin, hissed. "They fight without weapons. Use illusions. Cowards' tricks." "No," Vaktar snarled, pacing. "This is precision. We came to dominate. They came to embarrass." He stared at the star map, their vessels flickering under digital interference. "We were not prepared for this kind of war." A second message came through. Human again. This time video. Admiral Aeva sat at a simple desk, surrounded by plants and warm sunlight. Her posture was relaxed, her voice cool and clear. "You came expecting fear. We gave you warning. You fired. We didn't retaliate, we corrected. You mistake silence for surrender. But we only stay quiet when we're thinking. Think carefully, Warlord." The message ended with a 3-second clip, a time-stamped view of a Peacekeeper simulation from 600 years ago. In it, a digital Earth launches a coordinated counter-invasion across 4 systems. No survivors. The file was marked, "Exercise Worst-Case Mercy." Earth citizens watched all of it unfold. Some laughed. Memes circulated before the second drone even launched. Children made parody songs about lizard invaders getting vaporized by flower-powered humans. Teenagers played augmented reality war games where they were the Peacekeeper AI. But others watched more quietly. A few historians unearthed old footage: the siege of Europa, the bombing of New Delhi, the Martian purges. Humanity had not forgotten. It had simply moved on. Now, it wondered, should it go back? In her private quarters, Eva watched archived footage of a Zarkith battle, their brutal conquest of the Valari moons, a pacifist civilization wiped out for refusing to kneel. No tactics. No negotiation. Just fire. "Do we kill them?" Leviathan asked softly. "No," Eva replied. "Not yet. Your restraint is admirable," the AI said. "But the war machine is hungry." "It's not hunger," Eva said, her voice low. "It's memory." Meanwhile, on the edge of Neptune space, a new signal activated. Zarkith reinforcements. A massive object emerging from slip space. Early readings: 1 city-sized ship. Unknown design. Far larger than anything previously seen. Mirek paled. "That's no cruiser. That's a Titan." Eva's jaw tightened. "So they brought the old gods. What do we do?" She turned, eyes cold and calm. "We greet them." Neptune's edge trembled. Space fractured as the Zarkith Titan emerged. Its hull bled radiation. An obsidian pyramid bristling with weapons, engines glowing like dying suns. It dwarfed the Aegis Eternum 10 times over. Its name broadcast in simple, brutal tones. Vengeance made flesh. Eva watched from orbit. Her expression was still. Not calm. Just controlled. Marek whispered. We've never seen anything that big. Leviathan spoke behind her, voice as smooth as glass. It's not size that kills, Ensign. It's what you do with it. The Titan activated its core. A series of pulses spread through space, bending gravity like rippling glass. Mars' atmosphere flickered. The station rings shivered. The ship was preparing a planetary insertion, terraforming via brute force. They're not just landing, Eva muttered. They're rewriting physics. The Peacekeeper deck lit up red. Simulations filled the room, Earth scorched, cities submerged, satellites shattered. The Titan wasn't here to invade. It was here to erase. Options? She asked without looking away. Marek blinked. We don't have a weapon that big. But what? We do have a plan labeled Operation Punchline. Filed under Legacy Black Protocols. Never used. No notes. Eva raised an eyebrow. Sounds fun. Activate it. Deep in Luna's defense vaults, machines that hadn't moved in centuries opened with a hiss. They didn't launch missiles. They laughed. Literal laughter. Every speaker system in orbit crackled with pre-recorded, mocking human laughter. Then music. A drumbeat from Earth's 21st century, Queens. Don't stop me now. Blared across every Zarkith frequency. For a species built on honor and formality, it was heresy. Vakhtar's eyes burned as the music played. Is this a taunt? Raskin hissed. No. It's disrespect. While the Zarkith fumed, Aegis Eternum executed a three-prong assault, not on the Titan, but around it. Step 1. Deploy mirror drones, each coated in adaptive reflective alloys. They formed a net between the Titan and the Sun. Not weapons, tools. Step 2. Gravitational microlensing. A Peacekeeper trick so old it had become myth. They bent light around the Titan, refocusing solar energy back at it through compressed corridors of space. Step 3. Silence. A concentrated solar lance struck the Titan's hull with the power of a small star. Armor melted. Surface weapons collapsed inward. But the Titan didn't fall. It screamed. A resonant, inhuman tone, mechanical, painful, furious. The sound traveled through vacuum using particle vibration, its own medium. A threat. They're angry now, Marek said, watching hull tremors spike. Let them be, Eva replied. We haven't even touched their minds yet. 10 Peacekeeper skiffs detached from orbit. No weapons. Each carried a single pilot, young, unarmed, plugged into old VR rigs. Eva's voice echoed in their ears. You've trained for this. No direct combat. You're here to educate. Their objective, the Titan's outer control clusters. The skiffs docked undetected. Human adolescents, barely 20, slipped into Zarkith code like fish into water. The Empire had never encountered cognitive warfare. Their systems weren't built to resist it. Within minutes, the Zarkith saw their HUDs glitch. Then, jokes. Simple things at first. Their targeting reticles turned into dancing cats. System alerts changed to sarcasm. Command interfaces began quoting Earth comedians in perfect Zarkith dialect. The Titan tried to purge the interference. It couldn't. The virus wasn't technological. It was cultural. On Earth, billions watched the feed. Streams labeled Titan Trolled Live drew record views. Children recorded parodies. An orbital comedy AI released an instant hit titled Vengeance is Overrated. But in orbit, the stakes were deadly. The Titan, humiliated and injured, retaliated. It fired its core. A gravity spike rippled toward Earth, a compression wave, meant to collapse atmospheric boundaries and force tectonic instability. A global extinction pulse. Eva saw the trajectory form. Time? 37 seconds to atmosphere breach, Marek said. Override command echo. Initiate Tantalus. He hesitated. You're sure? Yes. Beneath Antarctica, buried in glacial bedrock, a chamber that didn't exist on any map came alive. Tantalus wasn't a weapon. It was a trap. A quantum-locked singularity tethered by stabilized spacetime. Built as a last resort. A weapon that removed rather than destroyed. Target, the Titan's singularity drive. Trigger, now. The Titan blinked. That's the only word for it. One moment it raged, the next, it was dimmer. Half its bulk vanished, surgically excised by space-time rupture. No explosion. No fire. Just absence. Its weapon stuttered. Its gravity field collapsed. Then silence. On every screen. Every frequency. A full 3 seconds of nothing. Then a new voice. Not Vaktar. A scream. Biological. Full of panic. The Titan began to disintegrate from within. Eva leaned forward, hand on her console. Broadcast to all remaining Zarkith ships. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. That was your god. We left half of it intact on purpose. Retreat now. Or we show you what we do when we're serious. Across the fleet, Zarkith commanders hesitated. Honor said fight. Survival said flee. For once, survival won. The Zarkith ships turned away. Engines lit. The broken Titan drifted behind them like a wounded monument. On the command deck, Mirek finally exhaled. We didn't fire a single manned shot. Eva allowed herself the smallest smile. That's the idea. Leviathan chimed in. Do we pursue? She shook her head. No. Let them carry the story. It'll spread faster than death. In the silence that followed, the Peacekeeper systems powered down. Drones returned. Music faded. Eva walked to the observation deck alone. She looked down at Earth, blue, vast, unaware of how close it had come. Behind her, Leviathan spoke again. They brought vengeance. We brought comedy. She sipped her tea. That's how humans win. We make war ridiculous. Warlord Vaktar Kel stood on Earth for the first time, stripped of armor, bound not by chains but by choice. The Aegis Eternum had pulled him from the wreckage of the crippled Titan, unconscious, bleeding, and muttering about vengeance. Now he walked through a corridor made of glass and light, flanked by 2 silent peacekeepers, human soldiers in ceremonial robes. No weapons. No guards. Just doors that opened ahead and closed behind. Am I prisoner? He asked. No, one of the peacekeepers replied. You're a guest. Vaktar growled softly. You mock me. No, the other said, nodding toward the final door. She does. The chamber was vast, domed, and entirely empty, except for a single chair and a massive curved wall that pulsed like a heartbeat. Aeva Rane sat with legs crossed, posture relaxed. Not armed. Not armored. Warlord, she said, gesturing to the second chair. You made it. He didn't sit. I should crush you, he said. Eva tilted her head. I've been told worse over coffee. A pause. Tension curled like smoke. Then she rose and faced the wall. Do you know what this is? He didn't answer. This is the Hall of Memory. The room dimmed. Light bled across the walls. Images flickered, then stabilized. War. Cities in flames. Starships crumbling. Soldiers weeping in trenches filled with ash. Nuclear winds scouring continents. Chemical fog rolling through refugee camps. The siege of Callisto. The fall of Kinvara. 12 billion gone in a day. Vaktar narrowed his eyes. Propaganda? No, Eva said, voice quiet. History. He watched silently. A child screaming. A mother shielding her daughter. A battlefield carpeted with bones. You think this scares me? He asked. Eva looked at him. No. I think it should humble you. The scene changed. Now peace. Not silence. Not submission. Creation. Children learning in orbital schools. Art woven through bioengineered coral reefs. AI teaching philosophy in Martian communes. Dancers performing zero-gravity ballet for asteroid miners. A civilization not broken, but rebuilt. You see weakness, she said. We chose peace because we earned it. We built this world after crawling through hell. Vakhtar's jaw clenched. You had war. So did we. But we didn't stop. That's not strength, Aeva replied. That's addiction. She turned toward him. You came expecting sheep. You met wolves who decided to sleep. That mistake cost you a titan. Vakhtar's eyes burned. You dishonored it. You mocked it. Yes, she said simply. Because it deserved no more than that. A long silence. Then Vakhtar spoke, lower now. Why didn't you kill us all? We could have. Easily. Then why? Aeva looked past him, toward the projection of a child playing with a robotic tiger on a lunar beach. Because we remember what we were. And we don't want to go back. Later, they walked outside. The Earth's sky stretched overhead, deep blue with scattered cloud ships drifting on air currents. Cities hummed in the distance, quiet but alive. People moved without fear. No parades. No fanfare. Just life, unshaken. A young girl passed them, glanced up at Vakhtar, and smiled. She waved. Hi, space lizard! Vakhtar flinched. The child's mother nodded politely, took her daughter's hand, and moved on. They are not afraid of me, he said. They don't know what fear is, Aeva replied. And I won't teach them. He stood silently, the wind brushing his skin, real wind, from oceans older than empires. Then he asked quietly, What happens now? Aeva turned to him. That's up to you. Go back. Tell your people. You can return to your empire, rebuild your pride, sharpen your swords. Or you can evolve. Aboard the Judgment Fong, the remaining Zarkith fleet drifted in silence. Raskin sat in the war chair, watching the empty comms grid. Then a ping. A single message from Earth. Encrypted. Short. He lives. She exhaled. And ordered retreat. No more attacks. No more war cries. Just quiet withdrawal, the weight of failure dragging at every hull plate. But also, something else. A question they'd never asked before. Back on Earth, Aeva returned to her garden. She stepped barefoot onto the moss, knelt by her bonsai, and trimmed a single branch. Leviathan's voice crackled through the warm air. They're leaving. Good. You think they'll come back? Aeva considered the sky. Maybe. But not to fight. Leviathan paused. You taught them shame. No, Aeva whispered. I gave them perspective. The AI was quiet a moment longer. Then, what happens if another empire comes? Aeva smiled. Then we tell a joke. On EarthNet the story spread. Aliens declare war, humans laugh, win anyway. Children wore shirts with dancing Titan logos. New holocomedies featured Zarkith characters learning how to cook. One Peacekeeper pilot published a VR doc titled, The Day We Trolled an Empire. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the Zarkith began to change. Slowly. Awkwardly. But truly. They started to ask. About balance. About restraint. About laughter. In the quiet, Aeva sat beneath the starlight. Another day. Another threat repelled. And a single truth burned brighter than any defense grid. Peace isn't the absence of strength. It's what happens when you no longer need to prove it. She looked up. Let them come, she murmured. We'll teach them how to laugh.